calls me up one day and he goes, I got a series. And I said, you what?
Voyagers was an adventure series on NBC. Not a bad gig for a rookie. The only problem was Jon-Erik didn't know jack about working in front of a camera. Mino Palouse was Hexum's co-star on the series.
I was the old-timer on the set. I was 12 years old, and I'd been acting since I was 7. And John, was brand new to it. The first day on the set, he pulled me over to the side and he said, how come you're on the other side of the camera? And I said, John, this is your close-up. He didn't know how any of it worked.
But Hexum was a quick study.
He approached everything with single-mindedness.
Everything, including love.
I met Jon-Erik because I was doing this play. He came to the show. I went home that night, and then at 2 in the morning, I get this phone call. Ring, ring, ring. Hello? Hello? Who's this? This is Jon-Erik. Really? What are you doing? What do you mean, what am I doing? Well, me, I'm sleeping. I'm sleeping at 2 or 3 in the morning. What are you doing at 2 or 3 in the morning? He goes, well, I saw you in your play tonight, and I've absolutely fallen in love with you. Really? And I have to come pick you up at the show and take you out to dinner tomorrow night. I'm coming to your show again tomorrow. Really? Well, okay.
Hexum and Daly became an item.
What was not to love about him? He was like a kid in a grown man body. Even the way he used his body was like he could do backflips, and he was this big man, and he would do like a back handspring, and you'd be like, oh.
Lennon was Jon-Erik's photographer. He says Jon-Erik always remained very down to earth.
His house was a dorm room. He had a few pieces of furniture. He had a black and white TV with a wire antenna. He never let any of it go to his head. He always thought it was funny.
Is it worth it? God, yes.
Good.
I'm having a great time.
On Voyagers, if it wasn't spears and arrows, there were guns, there were bullets, lots of shoot-'em-up stuff. So he certainly had good familiarity with weapons on a set. They're guarded very closely by the prop masters and by the stunt coordinators.
At least they're supposed to be guarded, but we're getting ahead of the story. Hexum was having fun enjoying his newfound fame and his new girlfriend, but he was also pushing himself very hard. Veteran actor Richard Anderson worked with Hexum on Cover Up.
You're not in the real world when you're working in front of a camera, and the better you are at it, the more in it you are, the more the more you live in a different world.
Maybe that was the problem. I mean, in the make-believe world of Hollywood, the good guys never lose. But Jon-Erik Hexum was about to get a lethal dose of reality. In 1983, 25-year-old Jon-Erik Hexum was making a name for himself. After only a few months in Hollywood, Jon-Erik snagged a lead role in a primetime series called Voyagers. Although the show tanked in the ratings, Hexum turned the heads of the sexy leading man.
He did Voyagers for that year, and it was a titanic effort to keep it on. It was against 60 Minutes. They didn't actually cancel Voyagers until the 10th of July, 1983.
I like doing the show, and I want to do another show, and it helps me in that sense, so I'm appreciative.
He was kind of worried, because he knew that what happens, and a lot of times you get to be a star one day, and then all of a sudden nobody hires you again. So, I mean, that was a concern for him. Making of a male model was a good move for him.
5 weeks after the cancellation of Voyagers, Hexum was cast opposite Joan Collins in a TV movie called The Making of a Male Model. The handsome 25-year-old had a chance to flex his acting muscles, so to speak.
Making of a Male Model, that's where his first huge stir. This was just a great male TNA film. Aaron Spelling,
What do you know, we scored.
The movie garnered the hunky Hexum some pretty decent reviews and some personal publicity.
We love tragic heroes. I love Rocky. I love that kind of film and kind of character that fights to win but doesn't.
Yeah, but it was great to watch him, his career taking off and off and off.
He was not at all egotistical about his good looks.
He had this funky old car that was like a collector's item car, but not like really expensive or anything, but he was not into the things you could buy with money. He wanted to make his career happen.
And he did. After the TV movie, Jon-Erik landed his second series, a CBS action-adventure called Cover Up. Hexum was to star as an ex-Green Beret turned male model slash spy working undercover for the CIA. Did you get that? Hey, it's Hollywood, folks.
Jenny O'Neill was going to play the photographer, and this new sensation, Jon-Erik Hexum, was going to play the model surrounded by beautiful ladies. You had to deliver a full hour to go on the air every week. What I'm getting to here, very simply, is that you don't have any time for yourself, and there's a great deal of stress involved.
John also had a bigger-than-life sense of himself. It was not unusual to come to work on Monday and he would have tales of how he chased a drunk driver down and did a citizen's arrest. I think he believed his own press.
No big deal. I'll get out of it. I'll just try and keep my shirt on and choose subsequent roles carefully.
It was like a big tidal wave. It was like this huge thing that was happening in his career, but it started to just kind of swallow him up a little bit. A month earlier I wrote, Jon-Erik is like a time bomb that's ticking and I don't know when he's going to go off. There was an element of out of control, tired.
But he did complain quite a bit about the cover-up set. The hours were always too long.
Hexum's hectic lifestyle was beginning to get to him. Still, he remained playful on the set, even with the handguns. Jon-Erik's co-star, Jennifer O'Neill, knew better than to fool around with guns. 2 years before she did the series, O'Neill was accidentally shot.
I thought the irony in my life was that I was playing a role where I had to use guns every week. John would play with the guns, and it was a bit of a rub between he and I, because I would get angry if he was waving them around. I said, I don't want you pointing the gun at me. I just keep the gun over there, and I was pretty tough about it because they scared me.
Cut to October 12, 1984. The cast and crew of Cover Up were filming on stage 17 of the 20th Century Fox lot.